Hey everyone, this is going to be the first time I have ever done a demo and shown people what the interface for Brand Helix actually looks like. So this is a first. I should have done this a long time ago, but I'm doing it now because I just released a new feature yesterday and I want to show you how it works. But first, I'm going to give you a little tour and show you what this is so that you have a proper understanding of where we're coming from with it and why it exists, why I built it. So first off, I'm Steve Reed. I've been in the brand space for over 22 years. And one of the things that I focused on for most of my career is simply aesthetics. But in the latter half of my career, it's been a lot into strategy, really, and trying to figure out how to build brands that get attention and help people differentiate in the marketplace, really understand what the customers' attitudes and feelings and emotions are around the problems they experience, and really how we can communicate between the business and the customer and have a great exchange of value in that process, right? Easier said than done, but over the years, we have developed a lot of really cool methodologies, frameworks, and ideas that have helped us along the way. Right now, what you're going to see here is this is a content idea generator. This is the newest thing we've added to it. It's pretty cool. I'll show it to you in a minute. Then we have this basic shortcut menu that helps you get to a couple of the most useful parts of Brand Helix. And then down here, this is a breakdown of the persona for Brand Helix. And it's based off of a framework I created. I wrote a book about it called Cake Jerky, and it's called the Customer Perception Profile. The origins of this, it's pretty fun story there, but I'll save that for another time. But basically, the all the information that is in here, there's things that the application, the platform does that are really helpful and they're really powerful. But where does it get that power from? That would be here. This is called the brand codex. If you're unfamiliar with something like this, you've probably heard of a brand architecture. This is our version of it. It's a little bit more involved than just a typical brand architecture. It's got 6 sections to it, and each one has a whole variety of individual components that it's going to take too long to get into all of them here. So I'll just give you an overview of how this is created. There are 3 core sources of information we use to create the brand codex, and each one of them have their own unique complexity. The first one is the founder's brain. And so we do something called a business extraction interview. Each of these 3 processes we refer to as an extraction: business extraction, market extraction, customer extraction. Sounds painful, but I can assure you there's no forceps or anything like that involved. So the business extraction interview involves us talking to the founder or founders and getting all of the information out of their brain. This takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's very in-depth. It's very thorough. A lot of times it's kind of like a therapy session. It is information collecting, but afterwards I have had more than once a founder sit back, breathe out, and say something to the effect of, "It feels so good to get that out of my head." There's a reason why. So I'll explain it to you this way. I've been creating logos for a long, long time, longer than anything I've done, probably, other than maybe drawing cartoon characters, stuff like that. But even someone like me who spent around 3 decades designing logos, I've got a real good imagination, by the way, y'all. I can visualize. I build a lot of stuff in my head. I can see it like almost instantaneously as I work around and play with it. And I go, I got the best idea for this. And then I'll go to design it. And I have all the skills, all the tools, and everything I need to produce it. And it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't work because your imagination is always a lot more optimistic than reality. And your imagination can bend and distort things the way that you just can't do in reality. Now, why do I share that? This is really important to understand. For a business owner, founder, entrepreneur, a lot of those ideas that sit in your head, this explains why when you have an idea and you try to explain it to somebody to have them execute, sometimes no matter what they do, they just can't do it. Now, sometimes it's because they stink at what they do, but sometimes it's because the idea just simply isn't feasible in the way that you think it might be. And you think that just because someone has skills, they can do it. But just as I explained before, sometimes it's just not possible. And so if there are ideas about the business, if there are ideas about the brand, if there's ideas about the product or anything related to how the company presents itself and creates touch points, and it exists in the founder's brain only, that is a liability and a huge source of friction in the company for people that are trying to create all those touch points, even for the founder who's trying to do it, because you're operating out of this imaginative state. So the business extraction interview forces all of that stuff to the surface so that we can look at it, we can examine it, analyze it, and we can codify it. So that's part one. Part two, we generate what's called a market intelligence report. This involves a thorough analysis of all of the competition in the area. We look at all these competitors, we weigh them against each other, we scrape all their websites, we go through and do reviews. There's all kinds of stuff that we do. We gather boatloads of data and we analyze it. What we're looking for is gaps in the marketplace, unclaimed territory that nobody else is going after. And we try to see if what we pulled out of that business extraction interview, if there's anything in there that would cause us to go, hey, we could go after that unclaimed territory. Now, the third source we go to, and this is my favorite part, this is the customer. This is what I wrote the book about. And I think this is where everything else we do is really solid, really good, but this is really where it shines. So we actually interview a lot of times face-to-face. We do a video call and we talk to them. But what we've done is we've developed a very specific set of unique questions that are different from every single client that relates specifically to the exact problem we are differentiating to solve. And we don't ask them any questions about their involvement with your business, right? That's like a separate thing. That's something else we can do. What we're looking for is to take them back in time before they found the solution, when the problem existed, and we go through their story of how that affected them. And we map the question. Each one of these questions are mapped to the 6 layers of the customer perception profile. And after we have several of these, we also get information from, I'm just going to say, other places in the market. We get a ton of data. Sometimes we have between 500 to 1,000 data points on this. And we use the customer information to validate what we're finding elsewhere. And we have the unique voice of the customer, their unique, powerful words and how they describe things. So those 3 elements get forged into what's called the brand codex. Now, the brand codex is a very intricate file. It includes a lot of different elements. It includes your brand story, your brand personality archetype, but we develop all of that out of the data. We have our key messaging pillars. We discover what those are. We surface those. We have the values of the brand. We have the mission, the vision. We're able to interpret all of that through some very complex models that built over time. In the beginning, years ago, decade ago, they were very simple. They've gotten more complex. They've gotten more detailed, more dialed in. And this is the culmination of everything we built so far. Once you have the brand codex, once all of that knowledge has been extracted and put into one place, and so we have a chat. This is powered by Claude. Image generation is there as well. It's powered by Google Nano Banana 2. You can ask it anything because it knows the brand inside and out. It knows the brand better than you do. It knows the brand better than anyone else on the planet does because it has infused in it so much additional information. The system is trained to not try to appease you. It's not going to say, what a great idea, even though it's bad. It uses the codex as its Bible. And if anyone tries to do anything to violate the codex, it will push back. That is a very important kind of gating feature that we built into it. And it works very, very well. Sometimes annoyingly well, but then you go, God, you're right. So it happens to me all the time. So I'll take content in here and I will take something that I wrote and I'll run it through in here, have it edit it, and it'll flag anything that's violating the codex and suggest updates. So even if you like to create your own content, which I think you should for the most part, this is a great help. It's like having an automated brand manager right in your back pocket. So the chat is very powerful. You can star different chats, kind of like pinning them, and then you can actually share chats. And one of the things I like too is you can actually delete chats. So if you had this long chat and you came up with some cool strategies, you can actually delete the portions that are maybe repetitive or you don't need. And then you could come up here and then share the chat with a member of your team and say, hey, I wanted to share this with you. Check it out. This is what I built for it. And they can see it in real time as it continues to evolve. Then we have our visual identity. And this is one of my favorite parts of the whole app, honestly. I live in here all the time. You can click on any of these colors and it'll grab the hex codes for you. So you've got your color palette. You can click here and it'll open it in coolers, which is awesome. Makes it easy to share. But ideally, you just invite your vendors, your freelancers, your whole creative team in here, and they would have access to this. We have a stylescape. So you can say, okay, here's the vibe of the brand. Now, this is actually, technically, I call this a colorscape. This is pre-stylescape. I haven't developed a full stylescape for this brand yet, but it kind of shows you an example of how colors and fonts play together, basically, in this little template. And so we have our logos. We always have a light and dark version, a black and a white version. We have a vertical. So if you know what responsive logos are, you don't necessarily need to have just one logo. You can have a variety of them to use for different things. We have our symbol mark, of course. And then we have, this is like a patch version. You can make stickers or embroidery out of it. And then you can click here and download all logos. And so what we'll do is we'll bundle up all the variants with their various sizes and formats and the original EPS file that contains everything, and that'll all be zipped. So you can, anyone who wants access to all of it, they can have it, right? Then we have our fonts, and clicking here will open these in Google Fonts, for example. You can also copy links to these. And then we have a little specimen. Graphic elements, you can click here to download all of them, or you can download them individually like this. We have patterns, backgrounds, and then on brand design samples. So if you have the team develop things that are like, wow, that's like the perfect direct mail piece. That's so on brand. Let's post it in here and we'll use that as a sample of what proper execution of this visual identity and messaging looks like. So those are very helpful. There's a notebook section. This is where we will put things in here that we could use, just document for the team. So it just has specific information. There's a guide, of course, down here that just explains how BrandHelix works, current chat model. So if you invite someone into it and just say, hey, go to the guide and click on how it works, and you can see how it works. There's a usage section. We'll show who's using what credits. There's 1,000 credits that are offered. We have our own way of justifying what a credit is. 1,000 in this system is practically unlimited. I'm being very generous with the credits. So there's a lot. There's a members section, and that has all the team members. I'm not going to show it. It's just a list of members. There's email addresses in there, so I don't want to show that there. Then we have notifications. So anytime there's updates that push out from us, you can archive these. You can open them up and read them. These were some new things. I sent a video showing some of the new features that were developed not too long ago. The dashboard is really fun. So this is the newest thing that has been built into this. This is basically called the content idea generator. And so what it does is every single day it produces a new idea. And I can come up here and select, well, what kinds of ideas do I want? So I have selected carousels, text and image, text, photo, video. I would just like to see something in that category. And you could choose if you want it to be seasonal or not, which is kind of cool. And every time I hit refresh, it will create a new idea. Then I come down to campaign and I can say, well, what kind of campaign do I want to do? Let's say I want to do a webinar, and it kind of describes what a webinar is in case you don't know. I can click if I want it seasonal or not, and then I hit regenerate, and it will regenerate a campaign idea. So let's say this is a text post, and I say, I want to develop this out a little bit. Let's see what it looks like. I click this button, it will open it in the chat, and it will start to develop out that idea and give you some of the reasoning behind it, right? So it's going to write this perfectly in the voice and tone of this brand, utilizing all the knowledge, all the brand knowledge that it has. This is really superior to anything you're going to get just using a naked brand blind AI that hasn't been trained. I mean, the hardest part is getting the information and putting the information there and making the information work properly with the AI. I've worked with data scientists and spent a lot of time making this work. And so it does a pretty good job. So it's going to give us an idea. So this is an idea for a post that I could put out. I can also refine it and play around with it. Or I can say, you know what, this is a really good idea, but I have a way that I want to say this in my own words, and then write that out. And then you could run it back through here and say, hey, can you check it and just make sure it's on brand? But honestly, yeah, it's like you're running everything through a brand strategist that knows everything about your brand. So you get access to this. And one of the most important parts of this whole system is the fact that you get access to my team to get fractional brand strategy help. So if you go back to the dashboard, you're going to notice it says 84 days remaining. There's a countdown clock on every brand codex to where we don't go 90 days without revisiting the brand and making sure everything is working properly. So we'll schedule a quick meeting. We'll take you through some questions. You can bring in your content creators, your media buyer, anyone who's producing ads or advertisements or graphics or whatever. And we can go through and say, okay, what's working? What's not working? We can take that and take some of the best ideas that are functioning really well, and we can build those into the codex. So it only gets sharper and smarter over time and more dialed in. One of the biggest problems with the traditional way of just building a brand strategy and putting it in a PDF is brand drift, because things are constantly changing in the market. Just like a marketing campaign, you wouldn't design one marketing campaign and use it forever. Well, you're not going to design one brand strategy and then that's going to be the end all be all for the rest of time. No, things change. The business has to pivot. New competitors move in right next door to you. Things change with the customers. You may want to go after a different vertical. You may change some of the products you have. You may introduce a new product. And we're doing that right now with a client who has brought some new technology into his practice, and it's really creating a massive differentiation point. So everything gets better over time. And you can have access fractionally to a strategist here at Vector for a very low price. This is what I've been working so hard to build over the last bit here. And I've built it to solve 3 core problems. Problem 1, no strategy. We solve that. We have a really great process that works amazing that gives us that strategy. 2, distributing that strategy, right? How do you get it to everyone and get everyone to use it? Brand Helix is the platform. It's the way to do it. So the great thing about this for creative teams is they have access to all of the information. They never have to keep coming back to the founder and asking questions over and over and over again. Founders no longer have to micromanage everything because we've already extracted all of the knowledge. Everything that's in their head and more, we have codified it, and now it exists in an interactive platform where anybody can access it and get the information they need. So we've totally put it all out there. The third thing is avoiding brand drift, helping everything stay current, sharp, and relevant. And the way we do that is our check-in process. There's also open submission. If anything changes in the business at any time, you don't have to wait 90 days. Shoot us an email, say, hey, we just got a new product we're going to start promoting, or a new service, something else. So we sit down, we crunch it against the current model, we go back and revisit things, and we find a way to see if that's going to fit or not, or how we can make that work. And we go from there. And so that's Brand Helix. And if you have any questions about it, shoot me a DM. Happy to give you a demo. Reach out at shout@vector.com if you want more information, and I can explain how this would work for your particular brand. We don't do anything without diagnosing first. So we have an evaluation that everyone has to go through. So we make sure this is the right fit. We figure everything out, and we make it work for you and your business. Thanks for joining me. And remember, brand or die.